For 2.5 centuries, the strategy was blood and iron. They fed the faithful to lions and turned the arena floor red, fully expecting the movement to die in the sand. But the fire only spread. And when the sword failed, the accuser simply abandoned the arena, pulling his war into the shadows to craft a far older, far more elegant weapon. He traded brute force for the throne room, using emperors and councils to systematically sever the roots of the faith, shifting the calendar and rewriting the sacred appointments of God from the inside out. By the year 300, deep within the alleyways of Antioch, a shrinking remnant still gathered on the seventh day to walk the ancient, uncorrupted path. But the pressure was mounting, as distant bishops drafted official decrees to strip away their heritage, slowly erasing the memory of who they were and replacing it with a Roman reflection. Yet before the Mediterranean was swallowed whole, that fragile thread of truth was carried south, slipping across the desert to find shelter at the absolute edge of the earth. Taking root in the stone fortresses of the Ethiopian highlands, the faith was guarded by jagged peaks and deep river gorges, where the decrees of Rome carried zero authority. For 16 unbroken centuries, the original covenant thrived in the mountain air, woven into the daily lives of highland farmers and clifftop monks, who kept the feasts and guarded the Sabbath exactly as it was handed down. But an enemy that measures time in millennia doesn't stop hunting, tracking them across centuries until he found a crack in the mountain walls. Backed by the military weight of a foreign alliance, a newly appointed patriarch marched into the highlands, armed with imperial edicts designed to force these isolated believers to kneel. He condemned their sacred immersions, told mothers their children were cursed, and dispatched soldiers to hunt down their ancient hand-copied Giaz manuscripts to burn the memory entirely out of the earth. Entire villages suddenly faced a brutal choice: submit to the sweeping power of a global institution, or stand alone against an armed empire to protect the uncorrupted word. Driving this ultimate test of faith straight to the year 1632, as the emperor's heavily armed soldiers pick their way up the treacherous cliff path toward the monastery of Debreganet. An elderly abbot waits quietly at the gate to face the steel, having sent his people into the pitch-black ravines below with nothing but the clothes on their backs and a terrifyingly fragile promise. With the weapons drawn and the ultimatum delivered, the accuser watches from the shadows, absolutely certain that the ancient thread has finally been stretched to its breaking point. But does a fire that burned for 2,000 years really go out? Or was it simply waiting for an ordinary living room in the year 2025 to catch the spark again?